Your guardian angels are stepping forward with a message that carries emotional weight, and it may shift the way you see someone in your life in a very positive direction. There is a person connected to your journey who entered your life during a time that did not feel smooth or comfortable. The situation around your first meeting was not ideal, and it may not even be something you look back on fondly. But what you may not realize is that the story of that day is not the same for them. This person has been carrying something unspoken about the moment you first crossed paths. It is not something harmful or negative, but it is something they never felt confident or safe enough to tell you. And now there is a strong possibility that this truth is getting ready to surface. The day you met them might feel, in your memory, like a low point or a distracted moment in your life. You may remember yourself feeling off balance, emotionally drained, stressed, or simply not fully present. Because of that, you may have assumed that the impression you left behind was forgettable or even imperfect. Many people tend to judge themselves too harshly based on brief encounters like this, especially when they believe they were not at their best. It is natural to replay those moments and wonder how others perceived you, but the message being highlighted here is that their experience of that same moment was completely different. While you may have seen that day as ordinary or even uncomfortable, they experienced something within it that stayed in their memory in a powerful way. It was not your perceived flaws or the awkwardness of circumstances that stayed with them. Instead, something about your presence, your timing, or the energy of that meeting marked a turning point for them in ways you could not have known. It is as if life placed the two of you in the same moment for a reason neither of you fully understood at the time. And for this person, that encounter became more than just a passing introduction. It became a shift, a subtle but meaningful redirection in how they saw their own path. After meeting you, something began to change in their inner world. They started questioning certain directions they were taking, certain choices they were making, and even the way they were living day to day. It was not sudden or dramatic, but it was consistent enough that over time, their life began to move in a different direction. They may have found themselves reconnecting with parts of themselves they had ignored, such as their deeper passions, their suppressed dreams, or their desire for something more aligned and meaningful. Because of this, the memory of meeting you became something they held on to very carefully. Not as a casual recollection, but as something significant. Something they did not fully understand, but could not ignore either. They have wanted for a long time to tell you what that moment meant to them, but hesitation has held them back. A big part of that hesitation comes from how they believe they are perceived by others. This is someone who often feels misunderstood, someone others may label as unconventional, eccentric, or difficult to fully define. They are frequently told that their ideas are too unrealistic, their perspective too unusual, or their inner experiences too hard to believe. Over time, those judgments have shaped how they approach people. It has made them more careful, more reserved, and at times, even uncertain about expressing their true thoughts. So when it came to you, someone who unknowingly left a deep impression on them, they became even more cautious. Your opinion mattered more than most, and that made them even less willing to risk being misunderstood. They did not want to reveal something so personal about that first encounter only to be dismissed, judged, or seen as strange. So they kept it inside, but what they carried was not confusion or obsession. It was admiration mixed with something deeper, something closer to quiet transformation. Because in their eyes, that meeting was not random. It felt like a moment that redirected them, even if they could not logically explain how or why. And now, as time has passed, something within them is beginning to shift again. The weight of silence is starting to feel heavier than the fear of being misunderstood. There is a growing sense that keeping this truth hidden no longer serves them, and that is why this message is emerging now. Your guardian angels are gently pointing out that this revelation, when it comes, is not meant to confuse you or overwhelm you. It is meant to bring clarity to something that was already meaningful beneath the surface. It may help you see yourself in a softer light through the reflection of how someone else experienced your presence at a time when you least expected it to matter. What you once considered an imperfect or forgettable moment may turn out to be something that changed another person's direction in life in ways you never imagined. And when they finally share this with you, it may feel surprising, but it will also feel strangely aligned, as if pieces of understanding are quietly falling into place. There is no need to force meaning or chase answers right now. This connection is unfolding in its own timing, and when this truth is finally spoken, it may not just change how you see that day, but also how you understand the subtle impact you have had on others without even realizing it. They've been carrying a quiet longing for a long time, waiting for the moment they could finally open up to you and share what they experienced when you first met. It is completely understandable that they hesitated. What they hold inside is personal, and for them it feels vulnerable. But over time, as they've slowly come to know you more, something has shifted in their perception. They've started to feel that you are not someone who would dismiss them or judge them for what they feel. Instead, you have become someone in their mind who feels emotionally safe to approach. From everything they've observed about you, they now believe you would not laugh at their experience or make them feel small for the way they remember that first meeting. And because of that growing trust, they are beginning to feel ready. The secret they have held onto for so long is now closer to being revealed. Your guardian angels are gently encouraging you to meet this moment with patience and compassion. When someone finally chooses to speak about something they've protected for a long time, it usually comes with fear, even if they trust you. So what they need most is reassurance, both in your words and in your presence, that they are safe being honest with you. You do not need to rush anything or prepare an immediate response before they open up. The most important thing right now is awareness. Simply being mindful of how you would hold space for someone who is being emotionally honest can make a big difference when the moment arrives. It may also help to reflect on how you want to respond when they finally share what they've been holding inside. Beyond offering acceptance, you can also gently explore your own perspective on the connection. Do you, in your own way, see that meeting as something more than coincidence? Has anything in your life subtly shifted since that day? Have you noticed yourself growing, changing direction, or encountering opportunities that feel oddly connected to their presence? Sometimes life places certain people on our path not by accident, but through timing that only becomes clear later. Looking back, you may notice small signs that were easy to overlook at the time. Perhaps there were moments of alignment, unexpected openings, or emotional shifts that seemed unrelated then, but now feel connected in hindsight. This is not about forcing meaning or creating assumptions. It is about noticing patterns in your own experience, the way you felt before and after meeting them, the changes in your thoughts, your choices, or even your emotional awareness. Sometimes, these subtle shifts reveal more than obvious events ever do. As you reflect, keep your awareness open but grounded. The purpose is not to predict outcomes, but to understand your own inner response to this connection. When the moment comes for them to speak, your clarity about your own feelings will help you respond with calmness and sincerity. What they are preparing to reveal may carry emotional weight for them, but it can also become a moment of growth for both of you. It has the potential to deepen understanding, not just about each other, but also about how certain connections in life quietly shape us over time. And when that truth finally comes forward, it may feel less like a surprise and more like something that had been unfolding beneath the surface all along, simply waiting for the right moment to be understood. Jungian love. This connection with this person has the potential to enrich your life in ways that may only become clear as events continue to unfold. However, it is important to understand that their next step will not be easy for them. What they are carrying inside is something they have protected for a long time, and releasing it will require courage, emotional safety, and trust. Because of that, there is no need to expect immediate disclosure. Even if they are getting closer to opening up, the process may still take time. They may hesitate, step back emotionally at moments, or wait until they feel fully secure before they finally express what they've been holding inside. This is not avoidance for its own sake. It is the natural response of someone preparing to reveal something deeply personal. When that moment finally arrives, the way you receive their truth will matter greatly. The most supportive response is not analysis or judgment, but openness, a calm presence, a willingness to listen without rushing to interpret or define what they are sharing. What they will be looking for, more than anything, is a sense that they are not being emotionally exposed in a place where they might be misunderstood. Your guardian angels are symbolically pointing towards this moment as a turning point, not just in your connection with this person, but in your own emotional awareness as well. It is being presented as an opportunity to grow into a deeper level of understanding about human connection, trust, and vulnerability. Sometimes life brings people into our path not only for companionship, but also for inner development and emotional expansion. If you allow it, this moment of revelation can become something that shifts how you perceive relationships in general. It can soften old assumptions, open new emotional space within you, and help you see connection through a more grounded and compassionate lens. Not as something uncertain or confusing, but as something that develops through timing, trust, and mutual recognition. At the same time, there is no need to rush toward meaning before the truth is actually spoken. The healthiest approach is patience, letting things unfold naturally, without forcing conclusions or imagining outcomes that have not yet taken shape. What is meant for clarity will become clear in its own time. When this person finally shares what they have been holding back, your response has the power to shape what happens next between you. A gentle, accepting presence can create safety for honesty to continue growing, and that safety can become the foundation for a deeper and more stable connection. There is also an invitation here for you to reflect inwardly. As this situation develops, you may begin to notice your own feelings more clearly. You might start to understand what this person's presence has awakened in you, whether it is curiosity, emotional resonance, comfort, or a sense of familiarity that is difficult to explain logically. These subtle inner responses often reveal more about a connection than external signs alone. Jungian love is symbolically closing this message with a reminder centered on compassion and emotional readiness. May your heart remain open as this truth unfolds. May you meet this moment with calm understanding rather than fear or resistance. May you be able to hold space for another person's vulnerability without closing yourself off in uncertainty. And may this exchange of honesty become a bridge, not only between two people, but also toward deeper emotional clarity within yourself. Whatever is revealed is not meant to destabilize you, but to bring understanding. And in that understanding, there is the possibility of growth, quiet, steady, and meaningful. A kind of growth that does not rush, but gently reshapes how you see connection, timing, and emotional truth. Because not everything that arrives in your awareness comes to disturb your peace. Some things arrive to refine it, to soften what has become rigid, to loosen the grip of old interpretations that once felt like protection, but now feel like limitation. When understanding begins to rise, it does not always come in the form of comfort. Sometimes it comes as clarity that challenges the way you used to see people, emotions, and even yourself. But even then, its purpose is not harm, it is alignment. There are moments in life when you realize that what you once called confusion was actually incomplete perception. You were not wrong for feeling deeply, and you were not mistaken for sensing more beneath the surface. You were simply seeing through a lens that had not yet fully formed. And now, as awareness expands, what once felt unstable begins to organize itself into something more coherent, more grounded, more honest. This kind of unfolding does not demand urgency. It does not ask you to fix everything at once or to force meaning where it has not yet fully revealed itself. Instead, it invites patience. The kind of patience that does not wait with anxiety, but with quiet trust. A trust that what is meant to be understood will become clear in its own time, without pressure, without distortion. And in that space of patience, something subtle begins to happen. You start noticing patterns you once overlooked. You begin to recognize the difference between emotional intensity and emotional truth. You see how certain connections were shaped more by timing, inner readiness, and unconscious expectations than by lack or failure. This awareness does not diminish what you felt, it simply gives it context. Because context changes everything. It transforms pain into perspective. It transforms longing into understanding. It transforms uncertainty into something you can finally hold without fear of being lost inside it. And as that transformation takes place, you begin to feel a quiet shift within yourself. Not dramatic, not sudden, but steady enough to notice if you are willing to pause and observe. There is also a deeper layer to this process. It is the recognition that not every emotional experience is meant to be resolved immediately. Some experiences are meant to be witnessed first, understood later, integrated gradually. When you try to rush clarity, you often miss the deeper message it carries. But when you allow space for unfolding, insight begins to emerge naturally, without force. And in that unfolding, you may find yourself letting go of old narratives that once defined your emotional reality. Narratives about timing being wrong, about people being distant without reason, about connection being something that must constantly be earned or maintained through effort alone. These narratives begin to soften as you realize that connection is not only about effort, but also about readiness, resonance, and emotional availability. What becomes important now is not chasing answers, but allowing awareness to mature, because mature awareness does not rush toward conclusions. It listens, it observes, it stays open even when things are unclear. And in that openness, something honest begins to form, something that is not dependent on projection or assumption, but rooted in lived experience and present understanding. You may also begin to notice how your inner world responds differently to what once triggered confusion or emotional turbulence. Where there was once urgency, there may now be calm reflection. Where there was once overthinking, there may now be gentle acceptance that not everything requires immediate interpretation. This is not detachment, it is clarity learning how to breathe. And as this clarity deepens, you begin to understand that emotional truth is rarely loud. It does not always announce itself in dramatic ways. More often it arrives quietly, in moments of stillness, when you are no longer trying to force meaning, but are simply willing to see what is already there. In those moments, understanding becomes less of a pursuit and more of a recognition. As this chapter continues to unfold, trust that what is meant to align will do so naturally, not through pressure, not through confusion, not through emotional struggle, but through ease that feels unmistakably right when it arrives. Alignment does not feel like chasing, it feels like arriving. And when the moment arrives, it will not require force or confusion, only presence, awareness, and an open heart ready to receive what has long been waiting to be spoken. Not everything needs to be decoded immediately. Some truths reveal themselves fully only when you are no longer resisting them. There is also something quietly powerful about allowing life to meet you at your current level of understanding without forcing it to conform to an earlier version of yourself. You are not required to hold on to outdated emotional interpretations just because they were once familiar. Growth often begins the moment you stop defending old confusion and start allowing new clarity to take its place. In time, you may even look back and realize that what once felt uncertain was actually guiding you toward a more grounded way of seeing. Not everything that felt heavy was meant to break you. Some of it was shaping your emotional awareness, teaching you how to discern between what is aligned and what is simply familiar. And in that realization, there is a quiet kind of peace. Not the kind that erases the past, but the kind that finally makes sense of it. A peace that does not depend on everything going your way, but on your ability to see things as they are without distortion or fear. This is the deeper movement taking place beneath everything else, a slow return to clarity, a gradual softening of confusion, a steady alignment between what you feel and what you understand, and through it all, you are not being rushed, you are being guided, gently, consistently, and in ways that often become clear only in hindsight. So let what is revealed continue to reveal itself. Let understanding come in layers. Let clarity arrive in its own rhythm, and trust that nothing meant for your growth is ever truly wasted, even if it arrives in forms you did not initially recognize.